Chamo Pulmore, Yamba,
Quebe, Chavoro, Pagbe, Shogun, Jawa, the Lani, Java, Shava, Kana, Lame, Jajawa, the Jawa, Tamjan, Laya, Mozambe, Jelen, Debe, Dodagi, Jawa, Gunlo, Shanse, Shabarangi, Deja, Shedan, Timo, Wangi, Leda, Ngada, Dejan, Yeke, Jan, Deva, Dagi, Jeva, Jeva, Dedan, Tamjan, Dagi, Sosur, Choji, Jelova, Kunda, Sanje, Ranje, Nanda, Loda, Meloda, Do, Quindi, Sono, Gala, Deda, Choji, Hana, Choji, Jide, Jamada, Shanjo, Rembra, Sanje, Majani, Gombo, Deda, Dagi, Kolo, Lana, Mevo, Goro, Yangen, Dada, Ganshin, Denda, Droga, La, Passion, tradition. What do you say? Aloha. Yesterday I received one small note. At the beginning they mentioned aloha. At the end maloha or something. What is that? What was that? What is that? Ka. Right. Aloha. Maloha. Right. So I learned one new word, maloha. Right. Under the Ramne
we just had a brief ceremony for the consecration of the stupa.
So a lot of people here came, and also outside. I think most of you, come out of curiosity. That's all. Then, in any case, I think warm-heartedness, there is no boundaries. Even to animals, if we show genuine, affection or warm-heartedness, they also appreciate. So we human beings, Easterner or Westerner or this or that, no boundary. So I think smile, also no boundary, right? So we can exchange good smile, isn't it? Now here, small what's the Buddhist, center, Buddhist temple. Buddhism, like any other tradition, also you see emphasis, importance of compassion, altruism. Actually, compassion is, I think, universal message of all traditions. Now in Buddhism, I think one unique thing about Buddhism is the Buddhist view of interdependency. Right? The Sanskrit word Pratityasamupad. Everything, firstly, I think all those phenomena which momentarily changing, these phenomena come from their own causes and conditions. So, one meaning of Pratityasamupad is the law of causality. So, anyone who wants good life, happy life, then we have to take seriously about the causes and conditions of happiness. Without causes and conditions, just somewhere all the certain happiness or successful will not come. So everything depends on its own causes and conditions. So like, I said, a happy life with material facility, for that reason, everybody loves money. Try to earn money. So money itself is nothing, but money can be a causes or conditions of material, facility. Through that way, we gain more comfortable life. But that mainly related with our physical level. So since we human beings, we have this sophisticated mind or thought, with that lot of different emotions. So in our daily life, I think it is quite obvious, in spite physical comfort, sometimes mentally unhappy, more stress, more, disturbances, and sometimes physically, very comfortable, but mentally depressed. It happened. So that shows there are two levels. Comfort or pleasure or satisfaction, mainly on the level of physical level, another mental level. So the mental level, comfortable or uncomfortable way, happy or unhappy, the mental level, that also, you see, due to its own causes and conditions. So as we take serious consideration about the causes and conditions of material physical comfort, so similarly, we have to take serious about the causes and conditions of mental happiness. Now there are, I think, various different religious traditions now involved in that level. Generally, religion not necessarily provide us physical comfort, but suppose various different spirituality provide us as a mental comfort. Now, for example, faith towards God. That also a source, I think, immense the powerful method or source to give comfort. And faith reduces fear. Faith provides hope and confidence. Now in Buddhism, not only just faith, but utilize human intelligence and try to know the reality. I think various levels of reality. For example, tatida.
So in Buddhism, in addition to faith, the role of human intelligence becomes important. And if you look at the various levels of suffering and anxiety that you experience at the mental level, the root causes are what the Buddhist tradition refers to as the 4 forms of distortions. Distorting what is actually impure as regarding as pure.
Viewing
Viewing something that is in fact transient to be permanent,
둥엘레 대화를 셔봐.
and regarding what is essentially the nature of suffering to be happiness or pleasurable,
다 매발라 다도 따와.
and believing or grasping to a viewing existence of a self where there is no eternal self. So the question is, how do these four forms of distortions really create the basis for suffering at the mental level? Now, if you examine the way in which we undergo experiences of afflicted emotions such as hatred or extreme attachment or anger and so on, you will appreciate that underlying these afflictive emotions are forms of viewing the world, regarding viewing things which are transient to be eternal or long-lasting, viewing things which are impure to be pure, viewing things which are in the nature of suffering to be happiness.
호호.
So at the root of all of these forms of distortions really lies a belief in some form of eternal self, where there is no self, no such self. So then the question is, what is the meaning of this no self in Buddhism? Here one has to appreciate that even within the Buddhist teachings, there are many different levels of, or many different explanations of this notion of no self. It is not, the Buddhism does not suggest by the teaching of no self that there is no individual, there is no person who is the subject or subject of the experience of pain and pleasure, happiness and suffering. That's not the suggestion. So, for example, when we say that we tend to distort reality by viewing things which are transient to be permanent or long-lasting, this is not a, this does not suggest that we don't accept the reality of anything. In fact, when we say we mistakenly view something to be a transient thing to be actually long-lasting, there is a basis upon which we create this distortion. Similarly, when in the Buddhist teaching we speak of there being no self, we're actually talking not so much about there being no individual or there being no person, but rather we are talking about a false way of understanding and viewing that agent, viewing that subject, and viewing the individual or the person to be having some kind of truly real self-existence. That is the false reality.
So now the question, the fourth point.
So it is in this respect, the fourth point, where in the Buddhist teaching we speak of no self or anatman, that a new meaning of the teaching on dependent origination, pratitha samubhada, emerges. So this level of understanding of dependent origination, where although on the basis of dependent origination coming from causes and conditions, one can appreciate the absence of self-existence of things, but what is more subtle and critical is the appreciation of the absence of independent self-existence on the basis of the arising of things in dependence upon one's designation and imputation.
So that's, I think, the unique thing about Buddhism. Try to analyze the nature of the reality. Right? I think so. I think Buddhist way of also the change, the Buddhist way of practice. I think.
Transforming.
Right. I think Buddhist way of practice is the suffering or problem which we are facing, or we do not want one thing. Now the deeper investigation, through deeper investigation, the causes of that problem or that suffering is actually ultimately because of wrong view. Wrong view, or say the wrong view, or say the is the obstacle to know the reality. So, unless we know the reality, the way handling that usually become unrealistic method. So, generally speaking, every unrealistic action bring a negative result. Since we want happy life, do not want suffering. So we have to take this seriously about the causes and the conditions. Now, ultimately, every human action comes out of human motivation. Motivation comes out of the
motivation comes out of us, the way in which we tend to relate to the world.
Yeah. Action unrealistic.
So if the way in which we understand and relate to the world is distorted, then whatever actions that way of understanding the world and relating to the world will give rise to is going to be unrealistic approach.
So, I think according to our common sense also, whatever we want something, or we try to overcome something, our approach must be realistic. Even making tea, we should be because of the realistic way. Otherwise, very because of the
otherwise you will create a tea that is undrinkable.
So must be very realistic. In order to implement realistic method, we should know the reality. So that's the system.
No.
So it's quite obvious. Even our common sense, you see, whatever we act, it should be realistic way. So the theory about the reality at various levels. That various levels
when we speak about understanding the nature of reality at its various levels in the Buddhist tradition, therefore we speak of the two levels of truth, the conventional level of truth and the ultimate level of truth. The reason why the teaching on the two truths is presented is because there is a gap, a disparity between the way we tend to perceive a reality and then the way things actually are.
I think one example, I think on the conventional level, like some flower looks very colorful, very beautiful, but in reality poisonous. So in order to deal with that flower, it is important to know the poison nature. Then we may put a decoration, but a little cautious. So that's a realistic way approach. So the appearance beautiful, but reality poisonous. So our attitude then become more practical or realistic. If we just, you see, they carry our action or the action according just appearance, you might get harmful, right?
No, harmful consequences.
And also some cases, I think the appearance very beautiful, but spend a few days, then start quarrel. Right. And also a little deeper, no matter how beautiful our appearance, but open our body, a lot of dirty things. No, isn't it? And actually, you see, this body is almost like, what's the toilet or chadwa.
It's a source of impurity, yeah.
Oh. So usually, you see, we consider the toilet is not very clean, right? So ultimately, all those material which is put in the toilet not come from sky, but from here. Isn't it? So you see, thinking, they realize the very nature of the body, very nature of these things. Then attraction will reduce. Then our enemy, appearance, a certain moment, very negative. But that does not mean that person, right from the birth till death, remain dead. No. At the young age, as childhood, just like normal human boys or girls, like that. Playful, like that. Then again, the later part of the life, again become an old, perhaps in some cases, hopeless sort of old person. Go like that. But short moment, it's harming on you. So we call enemy. But that, you see, the negative attitude towards you, that also without causes. Some causes, some conditions, it become like that. So when enemy appears us, we got the impression, we got the sort of feeling on the basis of appearance, oh, very bad, 100% bad, negative. Through that way, we develop anger, hatred, ill feeling.
Ill feeling, yeah.
Oh, because it appears at that moment 100% negative, no positive side. The reality, there are many positive sides also. So, then according our anger, hatred, with that, our action then become unrealistic action. If you know, if you analyze through analyzation, knowing the so-called enemy from all aspects, and also, you see, knowing about past, about the possibility of future, then our attitude will, because of the negative attitude will reduce. Isn't it? So that's the way, the Buddhist way, analyze everything, whether good thing or bad thing, according to appearances. Now, not just, you see, decide on the level of appearance, but try to analyze the reality more deeper way. So, the Buddhist concept of interdependency, interconnectedness, that become very important. So that view, although come from Buddhism, right? That is Buddhist idea, but it's applicable, right?
It is applicable.
Oh, 강리 ne?
So it is applicable in almost all domains.
I think, for example, environment issue, a global issue, in economy, in culture. I think every field, this view very helpful to develop proper attitude. So that's about. So therefore, the perhaps members of the center, please study more about Buddhist literature, and particularly, I think the original material, mainly those texts which wrote by Nalanda masters, I think that is important. Sometimes it seems to me, we Tibetan, some cases we...
And sometimes there is a danger or tendency to get confined upon a very small text.
So sometimes you say that we neglect study or to investigate our original text, original sort of idea. I think that's very important. So therefore, now more than 40 years since we came to India, now nearly 48 years, or 48 or 49 years, see, we try, see, to start every monastery, every monk should pay more attention about these basic texts.
Basic Indian Buddhist classics. Yeah.
And also, more than 40 years, we introduced similar study in the nunneries. So nowadays, we also now making every effort, you see, to promote Lomnicha.
We're also making efforts to create a possibility for even the lay community in the Tibetan communities to have access.
I feel that is very, very important. Therefore, you see, sometimes among Tibetan monasteries or nunneries, and also northern Himalaya
regions.
You see, sometimes you see people involve more ritual things and neglect about these serious studies. I think that is now out of date. I think now we must approach the original way. Study. I think Buddha himself, I think, never taught these ritual things. But he gave.
So Buddha gave extensive amount of teachings. For example, if we were to look at the Mahayana scriptures known as the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, in these collection of texts we see extensive explanation of the grounds, the paths, and the results of the Mahayana practices in the Mahayana Sanskrit tradition. But there are no references to any form of rituals in these texts.
So that I want to share with you. That my view, want to share with you. And also here, there is some, I think, Japanese or Chinese, some Buddhist brothers, sisters also here, and perhaps Vietnamese also, I think. Any Vietnamese? Some Chinese, some Japanese, isn't it? So in the Chinese and Japanese and Korean and Vietnamese Buddhist also, sometimes you see the little, I think, negligence to study these
these great Buddhist classics, yeah.
Particularly Nagarjuna's text is extremely important. So that's all. So thank you very much. You invited me here, and you make every arrangement. And this crowd also seems more compassionate. So at least you should provide us a little cooler. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. 참주
Sanje Tomjin Dembe Gun
Dorje Zembe Ngoni Kunjo Sumge
Sawan
Lama
Namla Chopa